Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid S episodes 7 and 8. So yeah, another one of those series where we have to get caught up on multiple episodes this week. Just because last week, mental health break, wasn't able to get to it, so we're doing 2 episodes. And with a series like that, it shouldn't be a problem. This series definitely is going to be good for that kind of thing. And the episodes tend to go by really quick anyway. So it shouldn't be an issue at all. But I'm definitely excited to see what more we got for this season. I definitely want to see more great Lulu stuff. I want to see more great stuff with all of our dragons. And I'm hoping we get some more like big stuff too. We've definitely had some big information given, such as with Toru and Elma and their past together. We've had the Harmony faction trying to get involved in terms of Lulu. I want to see more of that happen. I want to see more big things. Because I like the little slice of life cutesy stuff. It's great. But I do want to see some bigger, more interesting events unfold between these characters, and hell, even just meet some more characters we just don't know yet. That would be great. But we can tackle that when we get to it. So, in the meantime, we're just going to get on with this and hope for the best with these 2 episodes. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episodes. So, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So obviously, with the nature of this series and with these episodes, there's a lot to talk about between these 2. So I'm going to try to go through this as best I can to just discuss the general gist of these segments. I have the VLC player up, so we should be able to go through it that way. So with episode 7, we start with Fafnir wanting to make a comic, a manga for this convention that he and Taki are going to. And he wants to use Luqua as a model because he had heard that sexy women and stuff sell well. However, his manga still has a very huge theme of cursing and whatnot, so it doesn't sell well. But Luqua ends up going to the convention as well to sell a book of cosplay photos, which I would love to see, like, art of that. Like, we see her in the opening of this season with a bunny outfit on, but I would love to just genuinely see Luqua, like, cosplaying, like, other anime characters and stuff, or video game characters. Like, hell, Luqua in, like, a Street Fighter type costume, like Chun-Li or Cammy or Rainbow Mika or someone. It's like, I think that could work. Or just, like, all kinds of other characters. I think that would be really fun to see. We don't really get to see any of that. We get like a glimpse at the cover of it, but that's basically it. We also have, in this same episode, Toru is kind of questioning sleep. She's questioning the idea of sleeping, why people decide they need to sleep. Because for her, as a dragon, she doesn't need to most of the time. She can hibernate and everything, as we learned. But she doesn't really need to sleep for the most part. She even mentions, like, Fafnir had once stayed awake for, like, thousands of years protecting his treasure or whatnot. So it's, like, it's a really interesting difference in dynamic. So she's wondering, like, why do humans sleep? and why have I started to sleep since I've come to this world? She talks a bit about it with Elma, and she just starts to kind of think about it. She talks with Kobayashi and just kind of tries to figure it out the best she can. It's a kind of slower segment for the series that really just takes a moment to have Toru just really contemplate something. Which it's like Toru's questioned things before, but this is the first time you really get to like just focus so heavily on that and see it as kind of a serious thing. Because usually it's kind of played for laughs. I mean, it's a comedy parody series, so obviously. But here it's actually played completely seriously. She's genuinely confused about this and just wants answers. We also see Kana and Saikawa go with some of their classmates to investigate a ghost, but they end up just playing games and stuff the entire time. And Kana ends up catching a fairy that came from the other world. This buff mustached fairy who, for some reason, makes me think of like a Legend of Zelda character. Like there's certain characters in Legend of Zelda, like kind of like buff dudes with like mustaches, but also kind of have almost like a effeminate way of like just in terms of their personality and character. Like there's a couple characters like that throughout Legend of Zelda, and it's just it very much reminds me of that, and I don't know why. It very specifically does. But he seemed like a nice guy and everything, but he definitely wanted to get back to his world because he was kind of thrown out there on accident. So it was a really interesting segment that it's like I really didn't fully understand. But I mean, hey, I didn't dislike it, and the Kana Saikawa stuff was as cute as ever. But then we get into episode 8, and this one starts with the idea of Shota wanting to create a talisman as a present for his father for Father's Day, which Lukua somehow mishears as Tits Day. I guess that has to do with like Japanese like wording and everything. Some words can be similar. It's a common thing in many different anime and manga and stuff where it's like someone will say something and they'll misinterpret it as something else because the words can be very similar, very close to each other. So it's like I guess that's just the main gist of it. Like Lukua, it's close in terms of how it's said, so Lukua misinterpreted it. But we see that Shota wants to do this on his own. He's not accepting help from Lukua, even though she probably could help him. But he wants to do this on his own. He wants it to be special. And so he tries and tries and fails, but eventually he does manage to figure out, thanks to talking with Takia and Fafnir while playing games, he figures out a way that might be able to work, and he manages to make something. He gives it to his father, and apparently his father tells him that it's good and that he likes it, he appreciates it, but apparently he does need to work on it. And fair. And we know Shota's still very young, still very unpracticed at this stuff. So it's like, yeah, it's not going to be perfect. But the fact that he was able to make something is still impressive. And that's something that's worth note. Again, this was another segment that was very serious. It took Shota as a character and showed how, well, again, serious he was at doing this, how he wanted to make this and wanted it to be special. There were some comedy elements to the segment for sure, especially regarding Luqua's misunderstandings, but it was very, very, very serious focused, and I like that. I like that these episodes have been giving some focus to that side of things. So after that, we have my favorite segment of these two episodes. Kobayashi catches a cold, and it's not just a simple cold she can just kind of work with and continue on with. It's affecting her to the point where she can't go to work. She actually like passes out in the entranceway to the apartment, trying to go to work, and it's like she has to take time off. And the reason why this is my favorite segment of these two episodes is because of Toru. It may sound weird to say it and to word it this way, but the fact that Toru got so scared, so genuinely frightened and worried at seeing Kobayashi sick, because she didn't understand it, because dragons don't get sick. They viruses can't affect them. Because she didn't understand this and didn't seem to understand that this was just a normal thing that humans go through. It's just a very common cold. She got so freaking scared, and it was heartbreaking. And again, it sounds weird to say that that was why this was my favorite segment, but it shows that Toru's attraction to Kobayashi isn't just lust. It may have started out that way to some degree, but we see very heavily that Toru genuinely loves Kobayashi. So much so that when she sees Kobayashi suffering to any degree, even something, again, that's just super common for humans, she gets absolutely terrified. She's worried so sick about her that she's super antsy, she's super scared, she's trying everything she can, she's asking everyone she can, and she just wants to make it better. And the part that stood out to me is when she went back to her world and apparently went through a lot, went through exhausting hell just to find any bit of medicine she could for Kobayashi. She went through hell for her. She put herself through suffering for Kobayashi. And it's as Kobayashi said when she took the medicine and convinced Toru that it was working, even though she was already feeling better at that point. Seeing Toru feel so relieved and so happy at Kobayashi being better makes it worth it. Because you could see just the wave of relief, the wave of that fear being erased go through her expression. And they showed a very exceptionally well painted moment in that scene. Like you see that a lot in certain animes where it's like a big important scene. You'll see it like shows a still screen of like this really just expertly drawn, expertly like painted style view of the character, and it's to showcase kind of the importance and the impact of the scene. It's to show how big of a deal it is for the characters, for the story, whatever. You've seen it in various different anime where it does something like that. And so doing it here was a big deal. Because again, obviously we knew that this was just a minor thing and that Toru was over-exaggerating because she just didn't know. She didn't understand that this was a super common, regular thing that humans go through. Because it was so foreign to her, she was so genuinely scared for the person she cares the most about in either world. She was afraid that Kobayashi would not get better. She was afraid that she would die. And it destroyed her emotionally. And watching it, having become so invested in this series and these characters and this relationship, it broke my heart. It broke my heart to see Toru's heart broken at the idea that was going through her head. And I mentioned in the reaction that this is a huge comfort show for me. And I really do mean that. Along with the likes of the Owl House, it's a show that just brings unbridled joy whenever I watch it. It's just so lovely that I just can't help but just smile every time I watch it. And it's just, again, I'm so invested in these characters. I'm so invested in the relationships that this show has built, and to show this found family as such a genuine thing, as such a real close bond. Seeing Toru so genuinely scared like that, it hurt to watch. It got me emotional because I understand it. I've had friends I care deeply for too. I've had family I care deeply for too, and seeing those friends, those family get hurt, or even the possibility of them getting hurt or sick or whatnot, scares the shit out of me. I had friends during this past year and a half who contracted COVID, and it scared the shit out of me that they might die from that. I was so just shaken by that idea. And I did not know how to respond. And I did not like say anything to them other than just the general, I hope you get well. Because I was so scared. I was kind of like speechless in a way, just I guess with typing instead. I didn't know what to say, and I felt like anything I would say would be wrong, and I was so worried. And it's just, I don't like seeing anyone in pain or suffering. Not even just family and friends. It's like just seeing people in pain and suffering, seeing people die, seeing people have to face the deaths of their loved ones. It hurts. I don't like seeing people in pain, in any kind of pain. So I understand what Toru's going for here. I understand her point of view, even if I also understand that she just doesn't get what's going on here. And so it's like this segment, it was my favorite of these two episodes and one of my favorite of the series because I connected to it. Because I understood it. I sympathized and empathized with it. And again, just from the stance of these characters who I've grown to love and in a way care for as well, it hurt to see that pain displayed so notably on screen. So yeah, it's just it was one hell of a segment. But in the end, the medicine was apparently for beast folk, so it temporarily gave Kobayashi cattail, cat ears, whiskers, all that jazz, and Kana was playing with a water sausage with her, and it's like just super fucking adorable and hilarious. So it was a very good decision to add a little bit of comedic levity at the end of that because I was like, it was really emotional, and so adding that levity really helped just calm things down and bring us back to the lightheartedness that this show does so well. But to see it do heavy stuff like that so well as well, just it's amazing. But the last segment of episode 8 was also really heavy, and is my second favorite segment for sure of these episodes. So Ilulu and Take find a dowel abandoned at the Obero shop. They want to try and find who it belongs to, and we quickly find out that Ilulu is so invested in doing so because of her own past, because of the doll she was given by her human friends when she was younger. She abandoned that doll when those bringing her up turned her against humanity because of the death of her parents by the hands of humans. She abandoned the doll but regretted it instantly and ever since. And so she wanted to make sure that this doll reached its owner just in case it was a similar situation. And you see how hard she's working at it, how desperate she is to make it work. And so when you see her break down as it starts to rain and she starts to lose the scent and the doll could get wet and everything, you see her break down. It's heartbreaking because again, you understand where she's coming from. It shows us what happened with her and how this connects with her and why it's so heartbreaking. And we already know why it's so heartbreaking from earlier episodes. So seeing Taki come back in with the umbrella to continue to support her, seeing Kobayashi come on Toru, and relay the message that they found the owner, seeing how the owner reacts to getting her doll back and why she was abandoning it in the first place. Yeah, it's meaningful, it's heavy, it's emotional. And like what I said in the reaction, a lot of times when kids grow up, they're not necessarily forced, but influenced to give up their old toys. They're made to think, whether by other kids or by their parents or by just society in general, that like, oh, I'm too old for stuffed animals now. I'm too old for these toys now. I'm too old for this or that or whatever. And it's like you hear this, you see this kind of thing all the time with kids, where they feel forced to give up these old toys and they regret it. And a lot of times later in life, they'll look back on it and say, I wish I hadn't done that. Because a lot of times it's kind of indicative of them giving up their childhoods in a way. And that's something that society tries to make us think is something that you need to do, that giving up your childhood is good, but it's not. And it's been proven to not be the case. It's been proven that we should embrace that kind of thing and that it actually makes for better mental health when we do embrace the things we love, no matter what age we are. Adults being into stuffed animals or dolls or just toys in general is not only completely fine, but is extremely healthy. To not only acknowledge that, but to be allowed to do it, it's extremely healthy for their mental health. It allows them to just be themselves without any restrictions. Even if it's just collecting the action figures in their boxes, even if it's just having a Pop Funko collection, even if it's just having a few stuffed animals in your room, it can make a difference. And I've been there. I've gotten rid of toys and stuff that I was made to feel like I was getting too old for. And I've regretted it greatly. There's a lot of things that I really wish I hadn't gotten rid of. And so I understand that point of view too. And I just wish I had held on to a lot of that stuff more. And nowadays, like, yeah, in current day, I've been able to get some stuff. I've been able to get more stuffed animals, especially with Brony fandom and stuff. I've been able to get just figures and whatnot to collect. But I still regret having given so much up when I was younger. I've even found myself looking through all of my stuff in my room or in the boxes I have downstairs of a few things that I just don't have in my room. I've even found myself looking through that stuff just to try and see if I could find something that I remember having. And feeling kind of crushed when I realize I don't have that anymore. That I did get rid of it. It sucks. And for Ilulu, it has even deeper meaning here because of the propaganda, basically, that she was fed about humans and how it caused her to have to abandon not only this doll that was precious to her, but the friends who gave it to her, the friends who she valued so greatly. So it's like, yeah, it was very important to her to get this done, to find this owner. And it worked out perfectly well. The owner wanted it back. The owner regretted having abandoned it in the first place because she was, again, coerced into doing so just because she was getting older. She was in high school and she was being made fun of for still having a doll and everything, but she loved that doll. It was important to her. And giving it up crushed her, and she regretted it. And she was so happy, so genuinely happy, that she was crying when she got it back. This series, not just these episodes, but this series, when it tackles serious subject matter like this, it does it so well that it's almost hard to believe that this is a comedy parody series in a general sense. It's hard to believe that this series relies on comedy and parody so much when it does shit like this that's extremely serious, extremely emotional, and just makes you fall in love with the series from a serious standpoint. It really makes you question things, but it also shows why this series is so popular. And for this for this to be KyoAni's first series back into production after the events of the arson, this was the right call, I feel. Not just because I'm a fan of the series, not just because of all the people out there who are fans of Dragon Maid, but because of the kinds of messages, ideas, and relationships that it teaches and praises and really goes into. Having this be their first series back feels like they're trying to tell everyone that it's going to be okay. And with stuff like what's going on with Ilulu in this series, with stuff like what's going on with Toru, they're showing us that we can have all these fears, we can have all these concerns and all these worries and pains and whatnot, but it's going to be okay, and we just need to be there for each other. And I think that speaks volumes. So, yeah, this was a very, very good 2 episodes. And I'm really happy to be back after missing this last week. Because, again, I missed this series greatly during my break last week. I'm so happy to be back into it. But tell me in the comments below, what did you think of these 2 episodes of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid S? And thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.